In part 1, we looked at who Guru Nanak is not. In this part, part 2, we will attempt to know who Guru Nanak is, not from the Janam Sakhis, but from the 974 Shabads written by Guru Nanak himself in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I have distilled 7 philosophical points that I want to share with all of you. All these points are derived from the Shabads. These points are, to my mind, the 7 foundational philosophical things that define Guru Nanak. These are spiritual principles that never existed in the belief systems that were there in 1469. So, they are new, innovative, and revolutionary. They will help us know Guru Nanak, help us know ourselves, and help us know our own Sikhi. The first principle that defines Guru Nanak is his discarding of the then existing concept of God, that God was an entity sitting up in the heavens and micromanaging the world and micromanaging my life. 99% of Sikhs think of and accept the God that Guru Nanak discarded. 99% of Sikhs still pray to that discarded God. Think about that for a moment. So, Guru Nanak gave us Ek Oankar. Sikhs who think in terms of the discarded God say, this is Guru Nanak's way of saying there was one God. If we accept such, then 2 problems arise. First, what was new about saying there was one God? Islam already said it. Christianity already said it. Second, why just look at the numerical 1 in Ek Oankar? What about the second part, the open Uda? The truth is that the Ek in Ek Oankar does not mean one, it means oneness. That is because it is meant to be read together with the next part of the graphic, the open Uda. Ek Oankar refers to the oneness of the Creator and His creation. Ek Oankar refers to the Creator being expanded into creation, extended into the universe of creation, and that creation was His manifestation. Because the Creator was within His creation, He was within mankind. Because He was within mankind, He was within me and within you. The Creator within was a totally new, innovative, and revolutionary concept. That is why Guru Nanak described spirituality as a state of being one with the Creator within. This cannot happen if you consider the Creator to be out there somewhere or up there somewhere. If you are interested in knowing the details of how Guru Nanak conceptualized God, then you may want to read an essay I wrote titled Guru Nanak's Concept of God. The link is provided in the description below. And if you want an in-depth analysis of Ek Oankar, then I have provided a link to the video titled Ek Oankar in the description below. Second, he gave us the Shabad. Shabad is the vehicle, the means, the instrument for spiritual enlightenment, for divine enlightenment. In Guru Nanak's spiritual calculations, an unenlightened being could never be spiritual. Third, Guru Nanak introduced the concept of Naam, divine virtues. Virtues were critical to spirituality and humanity. Virtues were the building blocks of Guru Nanak's Sikhi. Guru Nanak diagnosed the problem, the distress, the agony that plagued humanity. He said the root cause was because mankind was infested with the 5 primary vices. They had to be replaced with virtues. Fourth, Guru Nanak tells us that the Creator, the Shabad, and Naam, meaning divine virtues, each one and all of them had to be realized. Realization is a process of knowing, understanding, accepting, believing, habitualizing, inculcating, and finally becoming. He wrote a complete Bani, a complete composition titled Japa, to enable us to become realized beings, or what he called Satyara beings. Fifth, Guru Nanak gifted our spirituality with the concept of hukm, that creation and human life was based on the law of nature within nature that ran nature, and that our spirituality was governed by hukm as well, and that we had to understand the hukm and flow with it. Hukam rajai chalana. Where is the hukam? It was within creation. Nanak likhya naal. Naal means within. A hukam of a seed, a hukam for a seed is within the seed. The hukam of spirituality is within me, within you. And the hukam is jeha bija so luna. The hukam is ape bija ape hi kha. The hukam is reap as you sow. The hukam is one of choice and consequence. If you do not like what is happening to your life, start making different choices. Sixth, Guru Nanak gave us the concept of becoming. Guru Nanak's spirituality was not about rituals, practices, symbols, dogma, etc. It was about becoming. And I will talk more about becoming down the line. All the concepts on your screen are new, innovative, and revolutionary. The sad thing is that all of the above have been muddled, corrupted, and distorted by us Sikhs. Ekwankar has been simply reduced to there is one God. Shabad is not for enlightening, but merely for singing, reciting, and chanting. Naam has been reduced to God's name. Vaheguru, Satnam, Sat Sri Akal, whatever you prefer. Japa, which is realizing or realization, has been reduced to chanting. Hukam has been reduced to blaming God when things go wrong. I failed my exam. Oh, it was God's will. I didn't get the job I wanted. It was hukam. That's the sad reality of the Sikhi of Guru Nanak today. It is based on us knowing Guru Nanak not through his Bani, but through fake and concocted sakhis written by ghost writers. The truth is beginning to sound stranger than fiction. Sir Dr. Ulama Muhammad Iqbal writes in his Urdu language book Bhagedara regarding the coming of the spirituality of enlightenment as follows. These verses are in reference to Guru Nanak, even if the rest of the poem is in relation to Gautam Buddha. He says of Guru Nanak, Buddh kada फिर बाद मुद्दत के मगर रोशन हुआ नूर इब्राहिम से आज़र का घर रोशन हुआ. Meaning, once again, after an age, India became radiant. Once again, the house of God shone with the glory of God. शमाए हक से जो मुनव्वर हो ये वो महफिल नहीं. The enlightenment manifested itself, but the audience was not one which prized illumination. It was blind. बारिश रहमत हुई लेकिन ज़मीं काबिल नहीं. The rain of mercy poured from the heavens, but the land was not one which cherished rains. it was simply barren. Ah, बदकिस्मत रहे आवाज़े हक से बेखबर, गाफिल अपने फल की शीरनी से होता है सजर. Poor wretched people, they never did awaken to the call of truth and enlightenment, just like a mighty tree that is dead to the awareness of the sweetness of its own fruit. Ulama Dr. Iqbal's lament is indeed painful, but it is an accurate depiction of the Sikh psyche in relation to knowing and understanding Guru Nanak. Put plainly, the Sikh psyche is blind to the enlightenment of Guru Nanak, and the Sikh heart is barren to the grace of Guru Nanak. Put even more plainly, the Sikh heart and the mind is incapable of appreciating Guru Nanak. Put even more plainly, the coming of Guru Nanak was wasted on the people of India. Dr. Iqbal captures this waste in the following verse. हिंद को लेकिन ख्याली फलसफे पर नाज था, meaning, but the people of India were content to hold on with false pride to their empty and imaginary beliefs, khayali falsafa. The sad thing is that Sikhs today are content with their empty and imaginary beliefs. We are happy with our khayali falsafa, such as chanting, such as paying clergy to do our endless reciting, beliefs such as relentless bowing here and bowing there, washing our flagpoles with milk, pleading, begging, crying out to a God sitting up in imaginary heavens to come down and resolve our issues for us. The list of these khayali falsafa is long. What is even more sad is that we do all these khayali falsafa in the name of Guru Nanak. That is what Ulama Muhammad Iqbal means when he says, Hind ko lekin khayali falsafe par naaz tha. But the people of India were content to hold on with false pride to their empty and imaginary spiritualities. Powerful words. Equally powerful, a slap to the spiritual face of Sikhs of Guru Nanak. I want to go back and talk a little on the final principle, becoming. Let me say a few things about becoming. Hopefully, this part will help us in knowing Guru Nanak too. This pyaryo is the opening verse of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, the commencing verse. Ek onkar Satnam Karta Purkh Nirpao Nirvair Akal Murat Ajuni Saipang Gur Prasad. It appears as the starting portion of the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji before anything and before everything. It appears 568 times in the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji in its full form and its shortened version. The Sikh world has given it two labels, Mool Mantar and Mangala Charan. In all 568 instances where the opening verse appears, nowhere is the word Mool found. Nowhere is the word Mantar found. Nowhere are the words Mool Mantar found. Nowhere is the word Mangalacharan found. In other words, Guru Nanak, the author of this verse, never labeled it as such. In other words, these are fake labels. In Muhammad Iqbal's words, they are khayali falsafa labels. So, what are the reasons for these khayali falsafa labels? Well, mantar is meant for chanting. Labeling the opening verse as a mantar reduces it to a chant. Chanting is a khayali falsafa. Mangalacharan is meant for reciting. Labeling the opening verse as a Mangalacharan reduces it to a recited prayer. Reciting for the sake of reciting is also khayali falsafa. Our premise then is that the opening verse of ek oankar til Gur Prasad is not meant for chanting. It is not meant for reciting. It is not a prayer either. It is meant for becoming. Every word is for becoming. This verse tells us the objective of Gurbani. Sadgur ki Bani, Sat Sarup hai, Gurbani Baniya. The word Baniya means to become. Our premise is that every word of the opening verse, Ek Oankar Til Gur Prasad, is meant for becoming. For the purposes of this video, let me take from the entire commencement verse just the two concepts of Nirpau and Nirvair. I hope you will take the principle that we learned here and apply it to the rest of the verse on your own. Let's look at just these two words, Nirpau and Nirvair. Now, we are told that all the words in the opening verse from Ek Oankar all the way down to Gur Prasad are attributes of God, characteristics of God. Come to think about it. What does it matter if someone else, God included, is fearless Nirpau and without enmity Nirvair? What would change? What would be different? But if you were Nirpau and Nirvair, it would matter a lot. It would make a whole lot of difference. It would make a difference to you, to everyone around you, to the way you see the world. And it'll make a difference to all your relationships. That would matter. So what Guru Nanak is saying is this. These attributes, Nirpau and Nirvair and all the rest in the opening verse, are for you and me to become. If you want to know more about the entire opening verse, then check out another video of mine titled The Opening Verse. The link is provided in the description below. Back to Nirpau and Nirvair. Guru Nanak's advocacy is about living without fear and without enmity. Now, between chanting Nirpau Nirvair and becoming Nirpau Nirvair, which do you think is the easier choice? Which is the Khayali Falsafa choice? The question, Pyareo, then is this. What exactly is the difficulty in becoming Nirpau and Nirvair? Let's examine this for a moment. The first reason is that doing so is risky. Why? Because to live without fear and enmity is to risk dying to all the knowing that you have. To live without fear and enmity, you will have to let go of everything that you have clung to, all that you know in the world of spirituality. All that you cling to is resting on two pillars, fear and enmity. The chariot of religion runs on these two wheels. The first wheel is fear. Fear of pain, of disease, of losing money, of never finding a partner, of not conceiving, fear of losing something, fear of death. You are religious because of this fear, as a reaction to this fear. So the religious establishment and our clergy make sure this fear is drilled into us at every opportunity. If this fear gets eliminated, the enterprise of religion would shut down. The other wheel of religion is enmity. You have to see all others as your enemies. People who belong to other religions, people who follow different beliefs in the same religion, people who don't look like you, don't behave like you, don't pray like you, don't wear your symbols, they are your enemies. You are religious because you want to be holier than your enemies. So the religious establishment and clergy again make sure that we are reminded of the enmity of others at every opportunity. Again, if this enmity factor gets eliminated, the enterprise of religion would have to shut its doors. So you see, the Khayali beliefs of religion require you to have fear and have enmity. Here, Guru Nanak is saying, discard your fear and discard your enmity, become nirpau and become nirvair. But you will have to die to everything you know. Number 2 on the slide in front of you. Now, within the parameters of fear and enmity, the people of religion are looking for beliefs to follow. Guru Nanak gave us mirrors, mirrors to look at yourself and to look into yourself, mirrors to see what defects and faults of ours need to be examined and rectified. But the people want beliefs. People wanted to be told, believe A and you will go to heaven. Guru Nanak did not give us any beliefs. He gave us mirrors. Gurbani is a mirror. The Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is a mirror. That is why we don't want to go anywhere near Gurbani and the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, because we are afraid of what we will see in that mirror. People wanted rituals. People wanted to be told, do A diligently and you will go to heaven. Do B repeatedly and you will get a job, a spouse, a child, a house, a visa, a race. Do C with devotion and your disease will go away. But Guru Nanak gave us no beliefs, no rituals, no instructions. He gave us enlightenment. He gave us awareness. That is perhaps why Guru Nanak has always remained an outsider, unaccepted even within the Sikh world. The real Guru Nanak, I mean the Guru Nanak of 1469, look around you to see what I mean. We created our own version of Guru Nanak, one who gave us beliefs, rituals and instructions that we concocted ourselves and then said, this is our Guru Nanak, the Guru Nanak that we accept, that we want to accept. So we created, in essence, a Khayali falsafe wala Guru Nanak. This is because the Sikh religious world did not know and does not know what to do with Guru Nanak. He, Guru Nanak, could not be turned into a religion. He could not be institutionalized. He could not be turned into a product. He could not be marketed. He was too original, too clear, too pure. He was too empty and too devoid of tradition, too empty of beliefs, too empty of rituals, too empty of religion, too empty of the Khayali falsafas that we love so much and proudly proclaim to the world in the name of Guru Nanak. But Guru Nanak was full of reality. He was full of truth. He didn't fit into any tradition, into any belief systems, into any religion, into any dogma, into any clergy structures. As a matter of fact, he didn't fit anywhere that mattered to religion. And Pyareo, let me tell you, that is precisely why he mattered. That is why Guru Nanak truly matters. He matters because he didn't fit into any tradition, into any belief systems, into any religion, dogma, and clergy structures. And if he did fit, he wouldn't have mattered. He wouldn't have mattered because then he would have been just one more being in the long line of those who came before him and after him. He would not have mattered because he would have been no different from the rest before him and after him. But the people of Khayali Falsafa simply had to fit Guru Nanak into some tradition, into some belief systems, into some dogma, into a clergy structure of some sort. The Khayali Falsafa people simply had to fit Guru Nanak into a religion. So they created one, they crafted one, they concocted one. Even then, Guru Nanak did not fight established religions with insults, protests, or disrespectful critique. He provided the people with insights, with enlightened insights. He never criticized blindly or in anger. He simply pointed. But you needed the eyes to see this point. You needed the intellect to see where he was pointing and what he was pointing at. So, back to Nirpao Nirvair, we were talking about the reasons why becoming is difficult. Now, to be without fear and without enmity is to be free. But we don't want this kind of freedom, the kind of freedom that Guru Nanak is trying to give us. We don't appreciate freedom of this nature. What we want is comfort. Someone to tell us, or rather to lie to us, that everything will be okay. Our clergy keep doing that, asking us to pray and do this or this ardas so that everything will just turn out fine. And we love our clergy for their comforting ways. Then we want identity. And identity is easy to obtain, easy to wear, easy to display. And identity gives us a license to look at those who don't have the identity or have less of it, to look down upon them, to tell them they are not Sikhs or they are lesser Sikhs. That is why our religion today is a lot more about identity, but little about substance, spiritual substance. And we want something to follow, or we want someone to follow. We want rituals that we can do, easily do, or pay people to do. We want dogmas because we want to believe in it. We want someone to tell us to do A and you will find God, do B and you will be disease free, do C and you will get lots and lots of money. We want clergy to tell us what we want to hear so we get comforted. And we want someone or something to follow. We want clergy so that they can pray for us and ask the things we want from that God sitting up in the heavens on our behalf, even if the clergy themselves are in need of all these things themselves. Think about it. If they cannot get it for themselves from that God sitting up in the heavens, how can they get it for us? So we want comfort. We want identity. We want something or someone to follow. We want rituals, symbols, and dogma. The truth of the matter is, Guru Nanak gave us none of this. Again, I mean the real Guru Nanak, not the Guru Nanak that has been constructed, concocted, and manufactured by us Sikhs of the Khayali Falsafa breed. Guru Nanak gave us the reality of life, unfiltered, uncontaminated, the naked reality. In this regard, then, Guru Nanak became the most dangerous man to walk the face of this earth in 1469. Nothing is more dangerous than a human being who cannot be used. Sikhs are afraid of the real Guru Nanak. Sikhs want a Guru Nanak that can be used to comfort them. They want a Guru Nanak to follow. They want a Guru Nanak to identify with. But Guru Nanak was not about any of these things. So we invented our own Guru Nanak. We reinvented Guru Nanak into a fake Guru Nanak. This reinvented Guru Nanak is someone just like us, who does what we do and approves of what we do, because we want to do what we want to do. To make that okay, we created a Guru Nanak who does exactly what we want to do. We invented a Guru Nanak as someone we can be comfortable with. What we ended up doing, Pyareo, is we got rid of the real Guru Nanak. We created a fake one. For a vast majority of Sikhs, the Guru Nanak of 1469 has not yet been born into their lives. For an even larger majority, especially the one that is entrenched in Khayali falsafas, Guru Nanak will not ever be born into their lives. The Guru Nanak that does indeed exist in their lives is a fake one, the one concocted by the Janam Sakhis. We need to cleanse our spirituality of the Guru Nanak of the Janam Sakhis and get to know the Guru Nanak of the 974 Shabads within the Sri Guru Granth Sahib. This is the only way we will come to know Guru Nanak, the real Guru Nanak.